Hey y'all, this is Kobe R. Rice back again with another weekly creative journal update. And it's actually going to be super short today, I promise, because I literally only have about 10 to 15 minutes. So, last week I talked about creative isolation and just me feeling just like blah, and I just was not feeling inspired or motivated or really like connected in any way to my work or to my community. Even though I'm building a pretty great author community online, the offline community I'm still sort of struggling with. But for this week, actually, I found that I'm feeling so much more upbeat and more optimistic and just more, I don't know, connected and more inspired. And that's mostly because basically I've done a couple of things. I started engaging a little bit more with the 4 solutions that I provided you guys last week with regard to trying to solve creative isolation issues. So, one, I set up a coffee date with a mutual creative and a friend of mine, the same person that I co-directed my stage play flash piece with. Actually, it was like co-written and co-directed with the both of us, so it was like an equal effort. And so we're gonna be meeting for coffee this week just to discuss like further creative opportunities and collaborations and just to like catch up. And so that's exciting. I get to kind of like get back out into the world a little bit and see people. So that's one thing. The second thing is that one major thing that has really helped was me diversifying my day-to-day creative schedule in terms of just for a couple of hours work on this project, for another couple of hours work on that project, and sort of switch off. So I've been working on, at a pretty steady clip, the Hollow Point novel, which is coming along really great. And actually, just as an announcement, in total for the entire Books of Ezekiel series, I wrote 11,674 words this week, which is like amazing. I'm trying to get that up to more like 15,000, but I'm just, giving myself props, pats on the back for what I actually did do. And 7,500 of those words, of the 11,674 words, actually were words that I wrote for Hollow Point. So I essentially worked mostly on Hollow Point this week, but I also worked on the next book, which is The Iron Maiden, the book after that, which is Blood and Ink, and then the book after that, which is The House of Death. So that's been really exciting. So diversifying sort of by looking at my series more longitudinally and not just looking at my series in terms of what's happening in one book, that has really helped. But the biggest thing that has helped in terms of diversifying my day is literally just switching off of series completely and working on a completely new series. And I've actually done that for 2 series. I've been working on the Asylum trilogy series as well as the spin-off novellas for those series. And I've also been working on the world building for my Hitmen of Happily Ever After series. And the world for Hitmen of Happily Ever After, as a side note, is actually also the world for 3 to 4 other series that I'm writing. The Forever Files, the Right Hand series, Hitmen of Happily Ever After, I already said that, the Godsman series, and is there another series that is in that world? I don't think so. Maybe it's just like those 4 series. So getting the world building done for those, or not completely done, but working on the world building for those series has completely not just switched my mindset, because that's more sort of solidly urban fantasy fairy tale retellings world, and it's really lovely in my head and on my side of things, seeing how each of these 4 series are playing out in these different parts of the world, which essentially the world is like pretty much condensed to New York City and the 5 boroughs, but just like reanimating and reigniting that world with like some new twists, some magic, some fairy tale stuff going on has been really exciting in terms of just like changing up the pace of my creative development process and just thinking in an entirely different direction so that I'm not stuck in this constant grind of trying to figure out what comes next in the Books of Ezekiel series. So that's been really great. The Asylum trilogy itself and that whole little world is its own separate world, and it has its own rules, has its own world building, and it's sort of like a different age or a different epoch in the off-world universe, which is what I'm building as like an author. Kind of like the Marvel universe or the DC universe. My universe is the off-world universe. It used to be called Rice Realms, and I didn't really like that title, so I just changed it to off-world. So any readers who are subscribing to my mailing list or have read any of my novels are automatically dubbed as like off-worlders. So you guys are all part of that universe. But just developing different parts of the off-world universe, and again, switching up my day, switching up the ways my neurons are firing in my brain has really, really helped me to stay excited and reinvigorated and just, just refreshed. And it has helped to break up that creative lag and sort of the slog that I've been feeling. And as a result, I've not only been more excited to write Hollow Point, but I've also just been making more progress and starting to write faster. Which leads me to my next point. And this is sort of a solution that I didn't talk about at all last week, but something I definitely discovered, or I keep rediscovering, because I am a perfectionist. I am sort of an overachiever, and I don't say that in any condescending or comparative ways at all, but it's just sort of how I am and how I've grown up. I'm always into multiple projects, always trying to work at the highest level across all my projects. And I realized that a big part of the reason why I felt so down and so just slow and so stuck was because my standards are just like way too high, and to a certain extent it's like I'm forgetting how to just relax and have fun and let go of all of these milestones and goals and all of these things that I have to hit in order to feel like I'm being successful in my pursuit of my goals. And so just being able to like let those expectations of myself go to a certain extent has really, really been helpful a lot. And so this is sort of the mantra that I adopted during graduate school this year, and that I need to adopt for my personal creative stuff, is that if I'm feeling stressed out and unhappy, that means that I'm holding myself to a standard that is probably a lot higher and unnecessary than what I need. So, for example, during graduate school, I would get stressed out if I couldn't finish the entire term paper in a week. And I would have to step back and ask myself, like, why do I have to finish this term paper this week? Whose expectations are those? Are those the professor's expectations? Are those your expectations? Are these the expectations of the actual assignment? Or are these just like your own self-imposed limitations and expectations? So asking myself those questions and interrogating where those expectations are coming from, and then readjusting my expectations to something that is more reasonable and more achievable and more bite-sized, has really helped to manage my stress level, has helped to manage my happiness level, my comfort level, and just my level of engagement. So I always have to interrogate myself and dial down or pull back all of these perfectionist expectations that I have. And that's been super helpful in terms of just helping me to be like a happier creative. So I had to adopt that attitude when looking at Hollow Point, and it's getting so long. And understandably so, it's an epic fantasy, but it's like, if I keep writing this way, it's going to be closer to like 300,000 words. And that's sort of not what I want from my novels. I want them to be around 164, 170,000 words. So I just settled on a final battle. It was supposed to be the midpoint battle, but it's actually a really fantastic battle that happens in the book, and it's a perfect breaking off point for the entire book, for all the character storylines, for giving great for resolving a certain arc in their plots, but also giving a great cliffhanger that will lead into the next novel. And so deciding that that's going to be my endpoint has been really helpful in terms of like just making Hollow Point manageable. So I feel way more confident that it's going to get done in time for my ARC readers, and I just feel more in control of the story. Now, mind you, there's a whole second half of Hollow Point that comes before the Iron Maiden that I will not get to if I make this final battle the final battle. So I might end up having to create another book in between the two of them. but that's okay. You know, I'm totally okay with that. It just makes it a longer series, a more engaging series, and at least I'll have most of that book written anyway. So these are just the things that I wanted to communicate to you guys in terms of why I feel so much more energized and happy this week, and sort of the solutions that I'm pursuing right now. I'm still thinking about travel, but it's going to be more probably national travel, most likely back to New York, but I would also love to go to maybe Savannah, Georgia, because I really have wanted to go there. It's so beautiful. And also maybe New Orleans or some places in Louisiana. So I'm thinking about doing some of that during the school year, maybe around the Christmas break with my daughter. So we'll see what happens. And maybe I'll get inspired. So until then, I have bacon in the oven. I need to take that out because I'm hungry, and I need to go and do all this other stuff before I have to pick up my kid. So thank you so much for tuning in. Again, I hope that this video is helping you guys to a certain extent to know that you're not alone. We're in this together, and giving you some kind of solutions or some approaches to solving your own creative isolation. And you can always hit me up in the notes below or in the comments below. I will always respond back. Even if I respond back like a week or two later, I will always respond back if you're not being a troll. Okay, talk to you later. Bye.